You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, go.
All right, hello. We are Team 3. I'm Emma, this is Pouria, and our project is focusing specifically on energy efficiency within residential buildings. So as a part of the clean energy transition from non-renewable sources to renewable sources, we can't achieve that without implementing energy efficiency measures. So in 1990, we used about 0.92 trillion kilowatt hours of electricity in the, specifically the residential sector, but by 2020 that it's increased to 1.4 trillion. So energy efficiency alone, even though in the first half of 2022, 24% of the energy was supplied by renewable sources, that's still an overall increase of the non-renewable sources that we have to use. So we need to implement energy efficiency measures, and one of the biggest sectors that we can do is by creating technology that will help us do this easily without having to dramatically modify our lifestyles.
Yeah, and that's why we care about energy efficiency. Who we are a knowledge-based company, I can say, and our mission is to make it as much as possible for people to live in harmony with the environment. Why we are selecting the residential sector, the numbers cut here, because they have a large share in the electricity retail sale in the United States, and this is why we have selected this sector.
So the prototype for this is a simplified model of my apartment building. One of the problems that I have is I have a vent over here by the living room, so this area is always really cold. This area is usually a fine temperature, but this area gets pretty hot. So equalizing those temperatures can't really be done if you only have one thermostat sensor because it only senses the temperature at that location. So by implementing a number of sensors around the room, you can sort of collect more information about things like occupancy, temperature, and ambient light levels.
Yeah. So what is our solution to this problem? We have a service named 3DS. 3DS stands for three-dimensional sensors, and it aims to control and optimize the lighting and temperature distribution in the building using a machine learning-based technology. Emma?
So going back to this model over here, so as you can see there we have 4 overhead lights represented by these yellow balloons. If we have a central unit that can sort of control that, we can say, oh, there's a large window, so during, for example, when it's very sunny outside, these lights don't need to be on at their full brightness. We can actually dim those and therefore save energy because you don't have to supply as much electricity and as much power to actually use those. Whereas maybe over here in the kitchen, in the living room, you want brighter light, so you can sort of use the Sondar ranges for the optimum levels for each room, create different zones, and say, I want this room to be this bright, and also schedule, for instance, if it's late at night and you sort of want to prepare yourself to go to bed, like automatically have your lights sort of dim themselves a little bit and sort of give you that cue, oh, it's time to go to bed soon. As well, these 3 sensors are sort of 3-in-1 sensors, so they aren't just to register the ambient light, they're also all have the same functionality. They all have occupancy sensors included and temperature sensors included. That way, when we do our machine learning algorithm, we can designate based off of those 3 factors where the ideal placement is. So you may not want to have one right next to the door because when you open the door, you're going to get a big rush of that outside air. You may not want one right across the wall from the HVAC system, but you may want one over here, you may want one over here, you may want one over here. Sort of spread them across the room, get the average temperature of the room to more accurately reflect living conditions.
So how are we going to harmonize your life? This is the features we are having. What we ask customers is to install the app. They can scan the zone they're looking to optimize. The app uses AR camera and machine learning algorithm to find the dimensions. You can locate, for example, windows and their dimensions, the location of the doors, the location of the HVAC inlet. We collect this data and using our servers, we run the calculations to find the optimum locations for the sensors based on the data and simulations we've had in our company. And what we are going to offer here is that within maybe less than 1 day, we can give some numbers to the customer that how much he or she can possibly save in his or her costs on the bills in the long run or even short run, how many sensors are needed, what is the best location and optimum location for each sensor, and how much is it going to cost for the customer to have this service. We are going to provide this kind of information for the customer, and as long as he or she selects to have it, we will send the customer service to install the system for them. It can be easily integrated with existing home automation systems that we are currently having, but in the long run, we are having the plan to develop our own home automation system, maybe in the near future. So why we are doing this? 3DS was an acronym for three-dimensional sensors, but it covers another concept. It's the 3 dimensions of sustainability as well. First one, the health and comfort matters to us. Did you know if you are, just as an example, if you are sleeping in your bedroom and you can see your hand, it means that the standard lighting is beyond what it has to be, and it deprives you of going to deeper layers of sleep, so you cannot have a good recovery over the night. This is only one of the aspects of health that lighting and temperature distribution in the room can have for your health and comfort. Well, in the residential buildings, we are spending a large amount of money on lighting and the HVAC part of the bills. So if we are going to save some energy, we can probably save on your bills. And residential energy use accounts for roughly 20% of GHG emissions in the United States. So you can do your share by decreasing this energy usage in your building.
Yes. So we sort of envision 3 different phases for at least the first few years of the business. In phase 1, this would be where we hire software engineers, computer scientists, and develop machine learning. Our minimum viable product would include the sensors and the temperature average. And then as we progress, we could add optional features like health connection. And then eventually, once we get a master on one HVAC system, we could bring it to commercial buildings which often have multiple and sort of expand our market that way.
Here are the references, and finally, we would like to thank the lovely and technical support of our mentors and all you are here and the ones involved in this event. Thank you.
I don't need to go first every time. Does somebody else want to go first?
I just wanted to compliment you on your presentation with all the materials that you've used. Very nice model, the handouts and all of those stuff are really great to help us understand. My first comment would be going back to the residential and energy use or energy consumption in general. I would say be a little bit more accurate on that, because the residential sector is not the ones that consumes the most energy, but maybe from the end use perspective, that might be a point. So just please clarify, is it the overall energy consumption or the end use consumption, because that's important. That's the first thing. My second comment would be, are you planning to, or the question, would you plan to collect some data related to the comfort factors of the occupants, or like, are you going to be setting like point for every customer? Like, for example, I prefer 70 degrees for the indoor environment.
Exactly. Thank you for this question and bringing up this point. At the first phase, we are going to only collect some data regarding the temperature distribution and light within the standard range for each application. For example, if there is an office, we know the standard range for the luminance based on the standards and benchmarks. But in the next phases, we are going to be more and more intelligent. By receiving this feedback from the customers, we are going to train our machine learning programming with receiving this data, and this is one of the points that make us believe that we have to sell the products in the first phase with the lower price, with the minimum benefit, and as much as we go further and further, we can receive more data, we can train our machine learning, and we can improve what we have. We can integrate, for example, the health indicators that are monitored by, for example, smartwatches, something like that, and ask the customers for their feedback. We know that if the temperature the comfort zone is within a standard range based on ASHRAE standards. But there are some health research that indicate that, for example, if you can experience some severe temperature differentiates from the standard range, maybe, for example, a lower temperature, it can help you recover. It can boost your recovery. So we are going to somehow use this in the system. What we will ask the customer, did you feel good, for example, over the last night? Did you have a good sleep? How was the quality? And based on these feedbacks, we are going to just improve and the algorithm. It's going to help itself because it's machine learning.
So much, that's very interesting.
I have a question for you. I love the use of physical model. Fantastic. Great job delivering the presentation too. My question is about your product offering. Obviously that will consist of 3D sensors and an AI-driven app. What about on the control side?
So on the control side, ideally our target audience, at least in the beginning, is going to be people who are already interested in smart home and sort of already have that hub that connects. In the past year, it's sort of they've sort of become more compatible with each other, so it would be building upon that system, possibly having a hub of our own, but for right now, not making them order an extra hub when they already probably have something similar at home.
Thank you.
Do we have time for one more?
Sure.
Do you plan to have manual overrides for the system? So for instance, if they go on vacation, do they have options to
Yes.
do that in the machine learning algorithm?
Yes, in the app, there's a way to adjust automations, there's a way to adjust the settings, and there's a way to say, hey, I'm leaving home, you can turn all the lights off.
All right.